America entered World War II, California's Dust Bowl refugees were absorbed into the armed services and into wartime production. Southern California dominated the aircraft industry. The San Francisco Bay Area dominated the shipyards. California was also a major producer of oil, steel, rubber, machinery, and electrical equipment. With so many men entering the armed forces, women were recruited to perform jobs that had been traditionally held by men. Riveters, drill press operators, machine tool operators, and welders. Women worked in factories, producing bombs, tanks, ships, and airplanes. They discovered that they could earn wages high enough to make them independent, and the seeds were sown for the women's movements that followed.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter, keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage, sitting up there on the fuselage. That little frill can do more than a mill can do. Rosie, the riveter. Rosie's got a boyfriend, Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie's protecting Charlie, working overtime on the riveting machine. When they give her a production E, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie, the riveter. Everyone stops to admire the scene. Rosie at work on the B-19. She's never twittery, nervous or jittery. Rosie, the riveter. What if she's smeared full of oil and grease, doing her bit for the old Lend-Lease? She keeps the gang around, they love to hang around. Rosie, the riveter. Rosie buys a lot of war bonds. That girl really has sense. Wishes she could purchase more bonds, putting all her cash into national defense. Senator Jones, who is in the know, shouted these words on the radio. Berlin will hear about Moscow, will hear about Rosie, the riveter.
Alright, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakar, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to all the Akim out there pushing the word in sincerity and in truth. You know, I just got a lesson going into the HOEISM and basically the wickedness of these women, and really going into the origins of how all this stuff basically started in the United States, you know. Because it was once upon a time, so to speak, where women were in subjugation. You know, they listened to their men. They didn't have any rights of inheritance. They didn't have any type of divorce rights. They didn't have any property rights. But slowly throughout time, in the process of time, the so-called white man introduced more and more liberation and more rights to women, whether they could work like this video I just pulled up, factory jobs, doing riveting. You know, when like it tells you earlier in this video about how the men, they actually went to war around World War II, you know, and basically a lot of the factory jobs, the hard blue collar work was basically empty. So they had to adopt a whole new system, and that's when they put a lot of women in the workforce. Women were, like I said, they worked on the B-14 airplanes. They worked on the airplanes. They worked on all kind of machinery. cars and different things of that nature, and they basically intercepted all the jobs of the men. And with that came all kind of back talking. It came back talking because women were pay rate started to be above the men after World War II. The men came back home. A lot of women actually had to go back to their regular occupation, but a lot of times a lot of women stuck with the jobs, man. And then throughout the process of time, through legislations and all kind of policies being brought out, it started to give women more and more liberation, which it was taking the clutches of the man off of them, and they basically start to become at one with the government. Because now when you're in a relationship, whether you get married, you have children, you have a third party in your relationship, which is the U.S. government, man. All right, that's why when you go to get married, you have to go to court or whatnot, and you have to issue out, you have to have paperwork issued out, stamp of approval, so to speak, that you all are married. And if you all divorced, then that's when you could possibly go on spousal support, you could go on child support, different things of that nature. But back in the day, and when you read in the scriptures, a woman, when you would leave her, she would leave with nothing, man. So I'm just gonna jump straight into these different things. It's not gonna be chronological. Right there was really like the 1940s. I'm gonna jump certain dates, whether it's the early 1900s, the late 1900s, but all these different things were build-ups to show the state that these women and the conditions that these women are into this day, man. This really built these women to be whores and sluts, man. All right. So I'm gonna read this on my phone. It says, and it's under what year Rosie the Riveter started. It says 1943, right? Because in 1940, that's when World War II started, to roughly 1945. So in the midst of this time, this when you had this Riveter. It says more than 310,000 women worked in the United States aircraft industry in 1943, making up 65% of the industry total workforce, compared to just 1% in the pre-war years. The munitions industry also heavily recruited women workers, as illustrated by the U.S. government's Rosie the Riveter propaganda program. Yeah, and that's where they show this chick, this big buff chick, Rosie the Riveter, showing her, strutting her arms or whatnot, looking like she been hitting weights, because that was the sense of empowerment. That was the propaganda that was being pushed out, that women shouldn't be feminine and at home and cooking and cleaning, mopping the kitchen or whatnot, and taking care of their kids, that they could go out and make ends meet just as equal and just as efficient as a man. And that's what made these women, basically, it planted that seed of wickedness, and it made these women sluts, man. Because even with the rights and passage of making money and you having laws behind you, these women have liberty to have sex with any man they want to, leave a man and jump to the next man, deal with multiple men. All right. And that's why we say that these women are sluts by definition. All right. It's not just, brothers just cussing women out. But nah, this is history. This is historical facts that actually built up to the point that we're at now. A lot of people were born yesterday, man. They think in 2018, all this stuff just started now. Nah, everything was a build-up. It's a reason why these goddamn women are so goddamn crazy, man. It's a reason why majority of brothers say you can't deal with these black women. All right? You can't deal with majority of these Latino women, majority of any of these women on the whole, man. Of course, you deal with women and you deal with them on a general state, but a lot of these chicks are corrupt, man. Their minds is real jacked up, And this is what I have under the definition, this is the etymology of the definition of slut. It's a Swedish slatter, idle woman. Slut, and Dutch slode, slut, slaughter, a careless man. But the exact relationship of all, wife called up the people to wash him about 4 o'clock in the morning. But it really goes back into the word slovenly, all right, or neglect of cleanliness and order, all right, because a lot of times when women married the men, they would be in the order of the man, all right. They would do what pleased the man, all right. They wouldn't back talk, all right, because back then too, you didn't have the police 911 calls. You could call, the woman could call 911 and the police would come lock you up in your own household, or you have to run out your own house. A lot of stuff when it was the household, the man's word was law. If the police or any type of officer would come to the household, the male would actually be the one that would have dialogues with the cops. All right, the woman would be in the background where she should be, you know. And like I said, putting the woman on the forefront, that just pushed out a whole lot of wickedness. Now you have a lot of guys that of course during certain times they did certain things as just beating the hell out of their woman for no apparent reason and different things of that nature. And I'm not saying it like we advocate things like that. It was certain things where, you know, men would do that, and you just like in the ancient world in the biblical times, and you would have the elders and the priests that would step in and figure out the whole matter. All right. So I'm not even pushing out the energy of that. I'm just pushing out the energy of order, because when a man guides the house, him being the husband, all right, or the man, so to speak, the man is the leadership, all right, and the woman means servant. She's supposed to be in subjection under him. And when you have the man and the woman in subjection, that's when the children fall into subjection under the children. But now it's all anarchy out here in these households, man. The woman makes more income than the man, so she talks to the man any type of way. The children don't respect the father because they see how their mother actually treats them. So they walk with a level of self-dignity and liberation, following their own path outside of the path that the households laid out from them. And that's how chaos actually pushes out from a micro state to a macro state, man. That's how this economy of this society is so totally out of whack. That's why these women have all this right to speak to different men how they want to. No respect, no order, and in the world on a whole, man. So I just wanted to bring out a couple more things, and this is one thing I wanted to bring out too, because you see how on this hemline history on how women they started to dress more skimpier. All right, they started to become very, very scantily dressed. Now you had harlots and prostitutes since the beginning of time. All right, and it was really, you could distinguish a prostitute from a woman that was in the household. But nowadays you can't. All these women, a woman go to the gym with a diamond ring on. She just been married for 8-9 years, and she got spandex on, man. Just showing her whole body. Presenting herself to majorities men and women. A lot of these women go both ways, man. Same thing with certain, going to the pools and different things like that. These women address any type of way, and they be having men. Back in the day, that wasn't so. Women would actually, cover themselves up, and that's why I wanted to bring this out with the hemline history, because it shows you throughout the process of time how women start to become more scantily dressed, and I just want to read the definition, and I'm going to go back to this image. But it says, another influence on the length of a woman's skirt is the hemline index, which oversimplifies states that hemline rise and fall in sync with the stock market. The Great Depression subsequently set in, and hemline fell to the floor once again. Yeah, because even when the society is in a state of depression, women dress according to the times, man. If the economy is low, just like the scriptures speak about how the people would gird themselves with sackcloth, women would do themselves. They do that themselves. They would cover themselves. They would make sure that they have the garments of humility on. But since we in the top of society where debauchery is pushed out on a whole, and these different people got living and drinking of this society, drinking of this economy, and you got liberty to make $400-500 a day. A lot of these women in these corporate positions, all right, managers and CEOs, presidents of certain companies and different things of that nature, they dress however they want to. All right, and a lot of times you have a chick that's making $140,000 to $170,000 a year, and they have a man that's making $80,000-90,000 a year. You think they respect that man? You think he has right to speak down on her or put her in certain forms of subjugation? Telling her what to do, laying out his order and laying out his word in the household? No, a lot of times the woman, she sets the principles and she sets the orders, man. That's how we know that everything is out of whack, and America pushes out a high level of wickedness, and that's why we say that this place has to be destroyed, man. Just like I have, a couple of images shows you how back in the the early 1900s. You see, and then the tire became more and more skimpier. Just like I said, it rose with the rise and fall of the economy, And now you have these chicks damn near naked now in the society. You have certain legislations where these women can walk around without the tops on and different things of that nature, man. You know, you got naked, nude beaches, you know, where you have certain men and a lot of fathers can't even tell their children what to do, man. You know, you have an 18, 19-year-old woman. You know, back in the day, they had that girls going wild and all that madness, pumping all that wickedness in the minds of the people. And a lot of times it would be certain fathers that would try to tell their daughters not to do certain things, but the mother would step in, you know? And then the child would listen to the mother. Like I said, the respect levels of the society has been poured down the drain, so to speak, man. That's why everything is immoral and it's out of whack, you know? And I wanted to just bring this point out because back in the day, this was what they would promote. They would actually promote house cleaning and making sure that the household is taken care of. The woman's job was to take care of the house, and women knew their roles back then. Women knew, okay, I know I got to take care of the household. I know this is my portion and this is my lot to be a stay-at-home mom. Make sure that the house is taken care of. Make sure the food is done on time, and make sure. And while I'm doing these different things, her husband would, you know, be the breadwinner, so to speak. He would actually generate the income. He would generate the money, and he would bring it back to the household. But now, since society has shifted, and Esau came up with secondary alternatives, putting majority of the people in the workforce, you know, which that's another trickery Esau did, putting double the labor in one household. You know, that basically altered the whole dynamic of the world, man. Now the children, they don't even have a lot of time where they can actually deal with their mothers. So they grow up immoral and, you know, basically out of whack. They don't understand principles and etiquette. They don't understand how to you know, be in society, and that's why they grow up to be thugs, killers, gang bangers, niggas. Because if their parents aren't pushing that energy on them, they're learning from their peers. All right, that's where you get peer pressure. And the peers of these different places, what do? They push out a lot of wickedness, man. Whether you hanging with a large group of people, majority of the people in this society, they congregate to do nothing but wickedness, man. You know, and this is early, like I said, possibly the early 1900s. You know, where they push out a lot of propaganda with women cooking and cleaning, and women actually loved those roles back then. On top of that, you know, but Esau basically putting certain things in front of the faces of the people, you know, namely these women to you know, you could get a job better than your man, you could do this and that. It basically seduced these women, you know, just as Eve was seduced, you know, in Genesis, what it says, the man didn't sin, but the woman sinned, because Eve was the one that got enticed by the devil, the serpent. All right, and she put that wicked energy onto Adam. She latched those demons onto Adam, and that's when Adam went off. All right, and I just want to go into this one thing where it speaks about women in trousers, because even with the society, you know, from the dress code to how women actually conduct themselves, how they talk to men, how they talk to their children, all these different things just altered, man. It was a level of regalness in the ancient world. When the man would deal with the woman, it was in an order. How the woman would deal with her children, it would be in order. How the woman would deal with the man, it would be in order. Now everything is out of order. All right. So it says since the adoption, it's under women in trousers. It says since the adoption of trousers in Western Europe in late antiquity, trousers have been largely worn by men and not by women until the early 20th century. And so, Laki, I'm finna just grab my charger real fast. Yeah, Salakia again. Yeah, I'm back right now. Like I said, I wanted to bring up this one quick point with trousers, because, like I said, even the dress codes of women actually changed. They actually covered themselves up. And a lot of times in the early 1900s, of course, prior to that, the 1700s, 1600s, and different things of that nature, because they knew that they didn't want to expose themselves to other men, and they wanted to actually cover their shame. You know, but now these women wear pants, you know, which that's a old form of actually calling it trousers and different things of that nature. And they actually push out a energy of seductiveness, man. They entice men to actually, come at them and what they call hollering at them, trying to basically get their number, and they basically, buy into it. Cause here it is, majority of these women, ain't no such thing as single, man, in this society, to be honest. The women, hell, before they get married, they'll have, these different parties where they'll go to the strip club and have sex with the stripper males. The indulge in all kind of lesbianism right before they get married. Hell, and when they get married, they having all kind of affairs, man. Because this whole world has been changed up, and it's been pushed. This wicked energy has been pushed by the so-called white man. If you want to blame it on anybody, blame it on the white man. All right, and these goddamn women too, man, because these women love this world, And I just want to basically focus on the U.S. section under this women in trousers. It says Title 9 of the Education Amendment of 1972 declares that dresses could not be required of girls. Dress codes thus changed in public schools across the United States. Women were not allowed to wear trousers on the U.S. Senate floor until 1993. See that? And that's how Esau started to push his wickedness. One woman stands up and does one thing, then all the women actually follow that same chain of wickedness. All right, that's how demons actually get pumped into society, through liberation. It says in 1993, Senator Barbara McCuskey and Carol Moseley Braun wore trousers onto the floor in defiance of the rule. Hey, basically breaking the law. When you defy a rule, that's something that's laid out for generation to generation. And when you defy that, that means you break it, willingly. All right, it says, and female support staff followed soon after. See that? Right after these women did it, pushed out that wickedness, it said that the support staff followed after. Now, if these women wouldn't have did it, would these women have done it? No. But them being under disciples of wickedness under these whores, they seen these women stand up and defy the rules, and they followed that same chain. It says, with the rule being amended later that year by Senator Sergeant at Arms Martha Pope to allow women to wear pants on the floor so long as they also wore a jacket. So they were trying to put out well, as long as you wear a jacket, you can wear pants. Nah, that wasn't the regalia that women were actually deemed to wear anyways. Pants are attire for men. But see, in society, they wanted to push that man and women equality. All right, that's why even when you have pants, what do you have? You have a zipper. And most times the zipper, the stitching of the outline of it resembles a penis, man. But you have women wearing pants. Women were supposed to cover themselves up with dresses. Now a lot of times women don't wear them dresses, man. Or if they do wear dresses, which they call a dress, it's a goddamn short ass skirt, man. Talking about they want to cover themselves up, but their legs are showing, their calf muscles is showing, and they all oiled up, and that's why the rape levels and all this this society is over sexualized, man, to the point where that's what's on majority of these people's minds. They can't even focus on things because it's all about these women. That's that spirit. That's that Semiramis spirit, and that's why a lot of these black conscious guys, a lot of these simple ass niggas, they be worshiping these goddamn women, man. It says in California, Government Code Section 12947.5, part of the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, expressly protects the right to wear pants, American English for trousers. Thus, the standard FEHA or FEHA discrimination complaint form includes an option for denied the right to wear pants. All right. And just like I said, and this is how that wickedness was getting pushed out from the early 1900s with the hemlines to gradually developing with World War II and women getting the factory jobs. So now women can wear what they want. They could work where they want. They don't have to listen to their men because there's certain policies and different things. They could divorce their men. And look at the conditions now. That's why you have a lot of these Tyrese niggas, man. A woman that actually plot, she'll conspire, and she'll actually marry men with a preconceived notion, ulterior motive. Okay, I'm gonna marry him. We're gonna be married for 6 years, and after I'm gonna divorce his ass, and I'm gonna put him on child support. I'm gonna get at least 3 children from him. A lot of these women do that, man. Now, if the laws was intact, if this place was deemed by righteous laws, then these women wouldn't even have that avenue to push out that wickedness, to slither through. See, in the ancient world, all doors were shut up where wickedness would actually try to lock through. You had the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments, where anything that would break or defy those rules, it would be dealt with harshly, man. Whether the people would actually get physically beat, whether women would get stoned, whether males would get stoned, all right, whether people would get hung. But we made sure that those laws were intact, and you couldn't break those laws, man. Because with law is order. Without laws, you have disorder. And this is just another part, which it says mainly with the 20s, when they started pushing out this women and smoking thing, man. Still trying to push that equality. It says cigarette smoking is the leading cause of death in the United States. Some effects of cigarette smoking has been linked to heart disease and lung cancer. And that's, which we already know. That's not the main point I wanted to bring out, because even it's foolish for men and women to smoke, But in this society, they wanted to push that liberation, man, for women to smoke cigarettes, to do what the male does. If males smoke cigars, why can't we smoke cigars? If males wear pants, why can't we wear pants? And that's how that wickedness starts to push out, because males and females are two different genders. They're not equal, man. Some things men could do, women can't do. And things that women can't do, women can do, men can't do. That's order, man. You don't leak certain things from one gender into the next. And that's why you have this transgenderism. That's why you have men that want to be like women that's lesbians, women. Here it is, women want to actually have sex with other women because they want to be like men. And you will have men that dress themselves up and put makeup, contour makeup all over themselves, lipstick, extending they nails, nail polish, implants, because a lot of these men, they want to be like women. That's that perverseness. When that spirit of perverseness gets pushed out, that's how it develops, man. Them evil spirits starts to latch on and cling on to the majority of the world, man. It develops complexes and mental deficiencies, illnesses, man, mental illnesses. So going back to cigarettes, it says the cigarette industry began a strong marketing campaign geared toward women beginning in the 20s in the United States. And the majority of the reason why these cigarette companies did that is because you could sell more. Here it is, your product is not being just tailored for one gender. You can sell it to males and females. And as we know, of course, you got it's more females in the world than males. So if you're selling things just to males, you're actually losing a lot of money. So the society, they pushed out cigarette smoke, divorce and all these different things just to collect more money, putting women in the workforce. It says these campaigns began more aggressive as time has progressed and marketing in general became more prominent. The practice of marketing aimed exclusively at women has continued into this present day and has now expanded globally. Yeah, and this is where you have it. Female smoking by country. You see all the rates, how the rates are skyrocketing. These women smoking fucking Newport 100s and Camels and all that madness. Thank the so-called white man. That's the so-called white man and his wickedness. The serpent and Eve, man. All right, since the beginning of time, that same spirit is still, like I said, is exponentially growing. Meaning it's not dying off, it's not withering, it's not declining, it's growing, man. That evil spirit is still living and is still blossoming unto this day. And the only way that spirit could be chopped down is through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua through his prophets. All right, that's why we rebuke these things. That's why we actually come up with these lessons and go into the data, man. Go into the statistics and link up the history and link it all up with the precepts, And I have this under the woman's lib movement, because that's another thing that's very, very wicked. And before I actually jump into that, I want to jump into a quick scripture on my phone, because we gotta declare everything through the word, But this is Isaiah 3:12. It says, "As for my people, who is the Lord's people, Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them." And this is how that seed got planted. Because prior to this, women weren't ruling over the men. All right, but as women gradually, like I said earlier, they gradually got their lot in society, start to get their face in society, whether they was working in the factory jobs, working in corporate America, working in agriculture or farming and different things of that nature, and started to take the man's job being the manager. So that's what the word husband means, is to be a manager. They took the manager job. They actually made the men that were supposed to be managers in subjugation. They made them servants. All right, which made women men and men women, because the word servant goes back to woman. Woman means servant. So here it is, men taking the role of servants. They actually take the body of women in the society, and women taking the jobs and being in the service force as managers. They take the body of men. All right, that's that perverseness. That's that Baphomet spirit, man. You know, that's spiritually transgenderism right there, man. Here it is. You got a woman, 5'1", probably 140 pounds, and she's over a man that's goddamn 6'7", 250. That don't make no goddamn sense, man. But it says, as for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. And that's why the prophet's job is, that's why we push this truth, man. That's why we speak on these different things, and we give account of these situations, man, because we have the light. We have the oil to discern right from wrong, And this is all wrong, man. This is all evil, and it's corrupt through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And that's why we say America's going to be destroyed, man. That's why we say the so-called white man is going into slavery. That's why we say majority of women are going to get put to death, man. Because you all go with this society. You all conform to the ways and the lifestyle of this society. And all you people are going to die with this society, all right? So I'm going to this, in women's lib situation. And I'm going to possibly jump. I might just read a paragraph or two. I don't really want to go into the whole thing. Brothers can go into it when you get the time. It might be a lengthy lesson, due to all the articles and different pieces of, history I'm bringing out. But it says, in the U.S., although isolated feminist acts preceded it, the feminist movement in America did not begin in full force, until the 1960s. The training ground for feminism was the civil rights movement. See that's the training ground, the civil rights movement. When they was pushing out civil rights, they was pushing out that same energy for feminism. It says during the 1960s, the President Commission of the Status of Women was formed under President Kennedy, who emphasized the importance of the committee's work at its first meeting on February 12, 1962. After its inception, each state had members who would report back to the president. In theory, it was a positive step in the right direction as far as procuring equal rights for women was concerned. And that's all off, man. Women aren't supposed to have equal rights with men. Everybody has certain rights and laws due to gender. Just like children. Children aren't supposed to have the same rights as parents. All right? Does children discipline parents, or does parents discipline children? Parents discipline children. That's order. But through the so-called white man and his wicked policies and his movements, all right, he does different things out of order of chaos. All right, he establishes chaos so that he can bring in his order, the new world order, man. So it says, going back to procuring equal rights for women was concerned, but it was besieged with setbacks. The problem during this era was that it was hard to follow through on ideas and proposals because, as is often the case in politics, it was hard to get everyone to agree on everything on everything. In 1966, a frustrated Betty Friedan and some of her friends decided to form a new organization, and they called it the National Organization for Women, which is the NOW. And if you actually rearrange the words, it's NWO, New World Order. Because the so-called white man, through these different puppets, like Betty Friedan, well, she was a so-called Jew. I'm going to go into her in a second. They pushed out this energy basically to break up the so-called black and Latino households. All right? Because if the man has his woman in subjection, he has the children in subjection. And he can actually raise them and actually build them up in the mind frame of a king. Or as a leader, you actually can have them at one with the society, so to speak, that you're actually gearing in. But through the entertainment and through the educational system and through all these different movements and all these different policies, the children and the women don't even have to listen to the people, to the family in their household. They don't have to listen to the men. They can actually leave the household and be at one with the government. They could get their own rights outside of what's actually being issued and pushed out in their own household, man. And that's wickedness. That's why you can't even put anything in order in the society. This whole place has to be broken down. That's why the Most High say he's only dealing with men on this side. Until you, O men, are called. All right. It says the women that originally formed MWO felt that it was very important not to get too extreme at first, but then in the late 1960s, younger groups started to emerge. And I'm gonna jump down to the point, because when you go into it, it was basically talking about how everything out of this, basically lesbianism came out. See, where it says, lesbians in these different movements, they started to push for lesbian rights, because it's like, okay, you had the civil rights, now let's have some women rights, and out of women rights, let's have lesbian rights, and out of lesbian rights, let's have transgender rights, and out of transgender rights, let's have pedophilia rights, rights for the pedophiles, and the wickedness goes on and on and on. All right, but going to the main point, like I wanted to bring out, it speaks. If I'm not mistaken, this is the paragraph. Excuse me. In the view of the newer generations, Friedman was for maintaining the status quo. She wanted women to wear makeup and dresses and to look a certain way. The newer generation disagreed with these desires. Friedman also stated that she didn't want people to think that now was just a bunch of lesbians, which it was just a bunch of lesbians, man. It was a bunch of lesbians that was pissed off and angry at the household, so that the men that they was with, and they wanted to do their own thing to the point where they don't have to listen to the males in their household, man. The fact was, however, that a greater deal of the younger people that were participating in the women's movement were indeed lesbians. See? Disagreement over policy caused an inevitable split, excuse me, that's a tongue twister, within the organization in the late 1970s that almost resulted in the destruction of the organization. More conservative members of the organization began expelling the more radical members. It was at this point that lesbian women began to pursue their own interests. To many, lesbianism was about separatism, and the creation of lesbian culture began to escalate. And that's all the women's lib is. It's just liberation for lesbians, man. It should be the women's lesbian movement. These different women, they don't want to listen to their fathers to tell them to get a man, and introduce the right man for them. They want a goddamn woman, man. And they don't want to listen to some situations. It'll be a woman that's been married to a man for 3.5 years, and she's seeing certain women that she's actually attracted to. So she doesn't want to be with the male no more. She's tired of sex with Bob, so to speak. Tired of him actually talking to her from a masculine mindset, and she doesn't feel that males relate to her. She wants a feminine energy that can actually relate to what she's going through, relate to her emotions. All right, these women want things tailored to them, man. And that's how we know this whole society is just broken up, man. Because you have women that have all this power, and you have men that's emasculized, man. The emasculation of men is on a large scale, man. All these different cities and all these different states, a lot of these men, they pitch is very high. They're very frightened to speak to certain women a certain way. They can't discipline women because they're scared that their women will actually leave them, file divorce and take the kids from them. Create a scenario saying that she was beating on him, and you already know the court system and the police officers and this whole system on a whole is gonna basically attach to what the woman says instead of the man. A lot of times when these police officers actually come to these households, they'll actually talk to the female and go off of her word. Even if the man says, nah, that's not the case. The truth is this, that, and the other. Sir, put your hands behind your back. That's the type of energy that the so-called white man pushes out. And I got a quick precept. And this is under Amos 7 and 17, or this is Amos 7 and 17, excuse me. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city. See, so your wife, the woman that you actually love and have a affection and a strong desire to, it says she's gonna be a hoe. A harlot is another word for a prostitute, man. She's gonna go out parading herself all throughout these streets, all in these different men faces with lipstick on, makeup, sleeping around with different men throughout the week, and she's gonna come home like she ain't did nothing. Tells you that in Proverbs. A whore's woman eat and wipe her mouth and say, I have done no wrong. Why? Because they have these different, they have these movements, they have all this liberation, and it gives women liberty to gad abroad. So it says, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword. And why are your sons and daughters falling by the sword? Because there's no discipline in the household. These different women, hell, a lot of these women be in gangs, a lot of these males be in gangs, all right? And they don't listen to what their fathers told them, what their mothers told them, because there was no order and there was no rights or different things like that in the house. It says, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land. And Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. And it said that we're going to die in a polluted land. That polluted land is America. A lot of these men getting shot down in Chicago, New York, Baltimore, D.C., all throughout Atlanta, because this is a polluted land. And Esau, like I said earlier, Esau creates all this different chaos, man, just so that he can push his evil out. And he'll have justification to shooting these different men down, to enacting this new world order. All right? But this is under Betty Friedman, this Jew rat lady, because she's basically the face of a lot of things. It says Betty Friedman was an American writer, activist, and feminist, a leading figure in the women's movement in the United States. She's a goddamn Jew, man. You can tell by her nose. Big Jew, big nose Jew. Betty Naomi Goldstein, and you already know that last name. That's a Jewish last name. All right, and she got her name changed, if I'm not mistaken, to Friedman. But this is the face. And if brothers get the time, you could read more into it, going into the the feminism and how she basically built up this organization of lesbians, like I said earlier, to basically push out their own rights, whether it's smoking cigarettes, whether it's getting more into the government, like it says, women's strikes, protesting for more rights and suffrage. That's why you have these different women that's doing all this crazy stuff now. Women running with period blood leaking down their leg, thanks to these goddamn Edomites, man, these Jews, and you goddamn women, man, because you women wanted this liberty. You had this one female on World Star. She was actually taking the period blood out of her box and rubbing it all over her face. Just coating her face with her period blood, man. That's wickedness. But is anybody gonna say anything about that? No, because that's her right as a woman. You had this other woman. She took the yeast out of her box and made goddamn a cake out of it, man. There's filthiness here, man. This place has to be destroyed. This place has to go. When under the women's rights timeline, it goes into how women basically, gradually got their foothold in society. And as women got their positions in society, that's how society actually declined. The moral states of the society actually got broken down. Hey, you see, you got Margaret Sanger, where she was a major piece in the women's liberation too, man. Giving women's right to go kill their babies, man. Abortion. Now women are on birth control. They smoking cigarettes 6 months pregnant, and they could kill they children, through abortion, birth control, and different things of that nature. I'm not gonna really go through this whole thing, but it just goes into like I said, all these different rights of women, or women only branches in the military. Now women got rights to fight in the military, and like I said, all this is just a ploy or a scheme from the so-called white man to put women into different forces to utilize both men and women. All right, whether you have women in the workforce or women in the military. All right, says employment discrimination against pregnant women banned, which that's even wickedness, because women's supposed to be at home when they're pregnant. Here it is, you have a whole a body that's developing inside of you, a whole spirit. You need your you need your alone time. And these different women don't even see that. Nah, I need to work. If I go 4 or 5 months without my job, you know how much I might lose $50,000. So I'm gonna go to work pregnant. I'm gonna go to work 5 months pregnant. I'm gonna go to work 4 months pregnant. Different things of that nature, man. This place is evil, man. And you mangina niggas, man. The Most High gonna kill you guys, man. Cause all these different things you guys put up with this stuff. A lot of you guys push out for women to teach in Israel, women to actually be at one, and you guys push women equal rights in Israel. Scripture says that the man is above the woman, man. It says that's the order. How the Most High is the head, and under the head is Yahweh Shai. Under Yahweh Shai is the men of the Lord, and under the men it's the women. Which I'm gonna get that. Bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna get it in 1 second. I'm about to just bring out this one last point I wanted to bring. Oh, it didn't click. Excuse me. Yeah, this is under the word appropriate, because a lot of these women don't dress appropriately, And when you look up that etymology of the word appropriate, it goes back to property. Appropriate means suitable or proper in the circumstances, suitable, proper, fitting. Yeah, a lot of these women, they dress like whores. You can't even discern women from prostitutes nowadays. They wear the same mascara as these goddamn sluts. They wear the same type of makeup as prostitutes and harlots. That's why it says that these women are basically going to be harlots in that day, man. These women fit the prophecy of all being whores and sluts. Back in the day, you could actually find a decent woman that was a virgin, at 21, 22 years old. Now, can you do that? These women having sex at 13, 14, man. It says appropriate, suitable, or proper in the circumstances. And when you go into the etymology, it's late Latin appropriare, to make one's own, appropriatus. And it's from the Latin proprius, own or property. Own or proper. And that's where you get the term property from. Because if a woman is property, if she got married to got married to the man, that's why you have the whole ceremony where prior to the woman being her husband's property, she's her father's property. He walks her down the strip, and he actually hands her over unto the husband. All right, and the husband now is over her. That's why the woman takes what? She takes the husband's last name. She becomes property of him. All right. That's why the woman's supposed to dress appropriately. When you dress appropriately, you dress like you have a man. You cover yourself. You don't actually show your thighs. You don't show your cleavage. You don't show your belly. You don't show your ass to all these different men. Basically, like as a product that's trying to be bought, man. A lot of these women dress like a product that's trying to be bought. Because they're basically hoes. Harlots dress like that. When harlots hit the strip, they actually, like back in the day, that's why they call them working girls, man. They would hit the strip and they would dress a certain way, high heels, strutting, and they would actually, try to market their body so that they could have potential buyers, and men would buy them and give them a certain amount of money, have sex with them, and that's what these women put. This the energy that these women push out today. All right, and I got a quick precept. This is Isaiah 3:17. Therefore the Lord will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. And the secret parts of these so-called black women's hair, man. That's why the majority of these black women are bald-headed. I'll say 97% of black women wear weave, man. If not, they got a low cut. Majority of these women don't have graceful and beautiful hair because the Most High cursed their scalp. It says, verse 18, in that day the Lord would take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their calls, and their round tires like the moon, the chains, and the bracelets, and the mufflers. Yeah, and these women dress up, the diamond rings and different watches, ruby earrings, and different things like that. Dressing like whores. Paul spoke about how women supposed to dress with modest apparel. All right, you adorn yourself as such. You adorn yourself in order. You know, and if women want to dress a certain way, you dress like that to appeal to the man that you're actually with. You know, you put on these different, costumes and always, dress up. You do that to actually excite the hormones of your man, not the hormones of all these goddamn niggas in the streets, man. That's why a lot of these women get raped. And that's just a plain fact. Tell me I'm lying. All right, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs and the headbands and the tablets and the earrings, the rings and the nose jewels, the changeable suit of apparel and the mantles and the wimples and the crisping pins. Hey, this is the attire of a woman, of a slut, man. That's why it's entitled to that, the origins of HOEISM in the United States. Because these women, like I said, back in the day, once y'all went into the hemline history, they would dress a certain way. They didn't wear a lot of jewelry and different things like that. You know, a lot of them just had casual outfits. You know, they would put, regular attire on, cover their body on the fullness. You know, but now these women, man, they'll put on any goddamn thing, man. Like I said, short skirts, tights, and different things of that nature. It says the glasses and fine linen, and the hoods and the veils, and it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle a rent, and instead of well set hair baldness, and instead of a stomacher a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. And that's a lot of these women, man. These women are burning instead of beauty. All right, the image of beauty is really the image of humility. It's appearance is one thing. When women look good, that's a plus, of course. What man wants an ugly woman? But how a woman actually dresses appropriately and how she carries herself tells you that in Proverbs 31. It speaks about the virtuous woman. They didn't speak about how good she looked. It spoke about how she carried herself as a woman. She would do certain things in her household. She would cook. She would clean. She would rise up beat times to make sure that the children and the males meals is taken care of. Like it says, when women would act that way, they would give men, like the scripture say in Sirach, it would basically be like a double life unto a man. And it said that women like that were basically, they would receive a lot of honor through their works and through their actions of being women, being in subjugation or being in proper servitude under the man. It says, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. And that's what's going to happen to majority of you women, man. That's why scripture say, rise up, you women that are at ease. Because what these people and especially these women don't understand is this society is going to be broken down. All right. And as this society shatters, we're going to see, what position a woman should actually be in. Scripture say how the Most High in that day is going to make a man more precious than fine gold, an Israelite man. All right, we're going to be the covert for the tempest, and all these different women, they're going to look to be in subjugation under us. Isaiah 4:1. So that's all I have for you, Akim, just to, go straight into the, just the history and to bring out, a couple of origins, like the scripture say, the Lord requires that which is past. You got to look into these things in the 1900s, times of BC, times of Yahweh Shai, all the way back to the beginning. So I want to end it by giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom.